Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is 3 o'clock here in New York, 12 on the West Coast. Let's get the party started. I'm Yevgen Borodin, the CEO of Capti. I'll be your host and facilitator today. Now, let me spend a minute to frame the problem. But first, the outline of today's webinar. Today, you'll learn about the AccessText, learn about Capti for higher ed, learn what's new, hear from users of ATN and Capti, and learn about a special offer from Capti, and stick around for a Q&A at the end. So the problem. So about 20% of college students report some kind of disability, about 5% have difficulty with print, and that usually is because of dyslexia, vision loss, other print disabilities. And it is estimated that probably about the same number, about another 5%, that have difficulty reading, but are not reporting it, unfortunately. So anyway, all of these students need access to the same content at the same time as the rest of our peers, but they need alternative media. So here at Capti and AccessText Network, we have been working together to help provide equitable access and level the playing field for all students. And this is why we decided to get together with Dawn Evans from ATN to share the best practices and help you improve access to books and other content for students with print disabilities. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Dawn Evans, who is the coordinator at the AccessText Network. Hi, Dawn.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Yevgen. Let's go to the next slide. Hi, everybody. I'm hoping that the majority of you on this call are already familiar with the AccessText Network, also known as ATN. So I'll keep my part of today's presentation brief. So for those of you who are not familiar with ATN, it is a website where disability service providers at colleges can log in and request files from ATN's publishers on behalf of college students with print-related disabilities. So ATN is the fastest and easiest way to request and receive files from ATN's 40 member publishers. And the reason for that is that publishers are able to store files in ATN and allow for your requests to be auto-fulfilled. So that is a huge benefit to you and the students that you serve, as well as to the publisher. Okay, so next slide. Let's take a look at why it's always better to use ATN rather than any other alternative way that the publishers offer you to place requests to them. So as an example, we're about to take a look at Pearson's online form for these types of requests. That is their alternative way that you can place a request to them outside of ATN. All right, so on the next 6 slides shows screenshots of the entirety of Pearson's online form where you can ask them for files. As you can see, this form is very long and it takes some time to fill out as it has more than 25 fields for you to populate various information. And in the end, you always have to wait. Sometimes up to 10 business days for a Pearson employee to manually process your request. Alternatively, next slide, if you had used ATN, here is what you would have experienced. So this slide shows a screenshot of ATN's extremely simple request form where you only have to populate 3 fields and click a Save button. And on the very next page, for this particular book and many, many others, you would be able to download the file immediately. And for even more convenience, at the bottom of every request record, you have an open line of communication with the publisher by simply clicking the Message the Publisher button. Next slide. So if you know any disability services departments, or you are them, that aren't currently using ATN, please spread the word about this incredibly valuable and time-saving tool that does not cost you any money. It just saves you time, makes your job easier. ATN can offer membership to staff at post-secondary institutions in the US and Canada who are responsible for accommodating students with disabilities. So just go to accesstext.org and click on join, and we'll get you set up. Thank you for your time.
All right, so next, let's talk about Capti. If ATN was the easiest way to get books, Capti for higher ed is the easiest and most economical way to make ebooks, documents, web pages, and tests accessible for college students, faculty, and staff. Capti spun out from my PhD research at Stony Brook University, and about 13 years later, it is one of the top assistive technology tools, and Capti has been built with funding from Department of Education, NSF, DHHS, NIH, all of those acronyms. And it also received numerous awards, including those from MIT Tech Review, FCC, and year to year, it's been the finalist of the EdTech Cool Tool Awards. What are the key benefits of Capti? Well, first of all, I think I missed a slide. Key value propositions is that it helps address compliance with just one tool. Of course, there's no one tool that solves all of the issues, but this seems to be by far the most versatile. It helps improve student success and, very importantly, boost persistence to graduation, retain students. I think it's a big problem for many colleges these days. Okay, and the key benefits for students is that it helps level the playing field for them by improving access to any file or document. You can read and listen to any web page as well. And for faculty, it simplifies the workflows, just like you can easily request materials from ATN. You can just as easily share the materials to students via Capti. We help make any content accessible. You can share it, and you can also administer accessible assignments and tests. So there's lots of features. Brian will show a demo. It's better to see things than to hear about them, but he won't be able to show everything. So just this is a quick rundown. You got multiple formats. You can have different active reading tools, reference tools. We support different sources. You can, if you share with students a book via OneDrive, they'll be able to import it from OneDrive. That's easy. Lots of visual modifications, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, OCR, you name it, we have it. We integrate with multiple LMS, looking to add more. What makes Capti the best is that it helps improve access to both documents and websites. Using one tool, you can use it for web browsing, and you can use it for accessing documents. It also combines reading and testing accommodations. So students can use it on their own, independently, to help them read and understand text better. But then when they come to take the test, they can use the same tool with the same settings, but it's a secure browser environment. It's also universally accessible and very user-friendly. And so all of that, and also the low price. So students love it. Once you get Capti, you usually want to keep it. And these are just some of the colleges and universities using Capti this year. We have a 99-something% renewal rate. I tried to highlight the ones who signed up for this webinar, but there were too many, so I gave up. Sorry if you didn't fit in. Most of you have been with us for years. Thank you so much for using Capti. It means a lot to us, motivates us to keep improving. Speaking of which, Brian will show Capti, but these are the 3 features to expect. Last year, we focused on improving how the existing functionality worked. These are the top 3 things to expect of Capti. This year, a lot of you have been asking to add support for PDF tags, for heading, reading order, and so on. An interesting solution is coming with the voiceover. So think about any book or document or an exam. You don't trust text-to-speech to read the math well, you can just record it over a voiceover for it, and it will work just like text-to-speech, but it will be human voice. They'll be reading all the math and all the formulas correctly. And you don't have to have a person sitting next to a student and reading everything. And, a simple one, the voice notes, documents. You can already dictate and sort of use the speech recognition for notes, but this will enable to record voice notes. And that's it for my part. Brian will show a quick demo. and stick around after the demo to hear from people using ATN with Capti, and we will have time for a Q&A as well.
Thank you, Gene. Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Ash. I'm the Director of Support and Training here at Capti. Extra special hello to those of you who are Capti users who I've trained, who have a relationship with me. As always, please reach out if you need any help. I saw in the chat that a lot of you are using Kurzweil. That's great. I am not in sales, so I do not want to be salesy at all, but I can confirm that we are significantly cheaper for just about the same stuff as Kurzweil, so you should be aware of that. Okay. So I want to show you a couple of things today in Capti. I want to show you one, how you could upload a document that you got from AccessText network to Capti to either share with your students. They could go through the same workflow and add these documents themselves. And then I'd also like to show you probably our most popular workflow in higher education, which is using Capti to provide testing accommodations at your testing center. The vast majority of the Capti higher ed users I train, that's the main reason they use Capti. So we'll go over both of those today. Okay, so to add a document into Capti, I just need to go to a playlist. That's where I'm at right now. And then I need to click on this plus track button. So Capti is extremely flexible all over the place. Adding documents to Capti is also very flexible. You have a lot of different options. So I saw in the polls that people are using cloud drives. You can upload from there, so can your students. If you do use a learning management system like Canvas or Blackboard, you can upload documents directly from there. But for this example, I am just going to upload something from my computer. So I am selecting the file that I want. When I upload something to Capti, I have a couple of different options as to how I want to upload that file. So there are two options. You can either select adaptable layout, which we'll see in a second, and then original layout, which is just going to keep all of the formatting from whatever document you're uploading. So it depends on what you want, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. We also offer unlimited optical character recognition to all of our higher ed accounts. So I remember when I was in college years ago, I have degrees in history and classics, very useful, but all of my professors were ancient. They were in their 80s. None of them even knew how to use a computer. So what they would do is they would scan with Xerox all of their documents. Those do not work in text-to-speech, but if you use this optical character recognition, it will read all of those. So it makes even those inaccessible files accessible. So I am uploading a document as adaptable layout. This is the exact same document right here that you can see. This is the same document in original layout. So if you do need to keep your graphs, your charts, lines, things like that, you can keep those in Capti, and you can still do all of the same things that anyone can do in Capti. So this is that same document I just showed you, but this is it in adaptable layout. So if you do have students who have visual impairments, dyslexia, things like that, uploading documents into adaptable layout gives them a ton of ability to manipulate the way the text looks like. So they can change the font, they can change it to open dyslexic, whatever they want. They can change how much text is on a page at a time. You can change the background, so you can make it like a different contrast. You could do a dark theme, whatever works best for, that student. Everyone can do it differently. You can turn on tracking or not tracking of the cursor. There's a million different options in Capti. It would take me forever to show you everything. But a lot of students use this for all of their reading. So I know AccessText Network requires students to have some sort of text or print disability. Capti doesn't require that. So Capti is really good for, I wouldn't say every single student in your school, but it has a huge amount of use cases for all sorts of different people. So obviously this webinar is going to kind of focus on people who will come into your accessibility office. But Capti is also great for things like international students because we have this fantastic translation functionality. If your international students are a little overwhelmed with how much academic English reading they need to do, they can highlight any text they have in Capti and they can change it to any language that they want. So if you have African students, Asian students, European students, doesn't matter. You can see we have hundreds of languages here that you can translate to. It will immediately translate it into Chinese for your Chinese students, Japanese for your Japanese students, so on and so forth. You can add these things to your list to study later. It genuinely would take me hours to show you everything that's available in Capti. So let's just sum it up here. So I've added this document. I want to make it available for one of my students. That's really easy to do. I just need to share this playlist. So I'm going to click on this share button. I can see the 5 students who have access to these documents right now. So if I want to add another one, I can just click on edit. I'm going to go add Mia Ham. She's going to be my example today. And now if I click done, if Mia logs into Capti as a student, she's going to have access to all of her own personal documents and anything she's uploaded, but she will also now see Psychology 101, and she will have access to these. She will be able to read them at her leisure as much as she wants. So let's say a few weeks has passed. Let's assume that Mia has done her reading, which is, optimistic of any student these days. But the professor, her psychology professor, has given you a document that he is going to be giving to his students in his class. This is going to be a quiz. Mia has some sort of Section 504 compliance or something that requires her to come to your testing center. So this is a really popular thing that most users in Capti are using. So you just need to get the document from the professor. They can send it to an email, Canvas, whatever. I'm going to click on new assignment. I am now going to make a new quiz. So I'm going to do a psych quiz to make it fit with the book we've just uploaded from AccessText. I'm going to tell her what to do. So as Mia is in this quiz, she will not be able to leave and go Google answers or things like that. So you don't have to be constantly monitoring students. You can just use the 10, 15, 20, 50 licenses and recycle some of those accounts. I know a lot of the Capti accounts, they use things like Testing Center Login 1, Testing Center Login 2. So you don't need to use one for every single student. So I'm just uploading the site quiz. I want to do it as original layout because I want it to be the same formatting that the students in class are going to see. So that is uploading. As that's uploading, I'm going to click done. I'm going to go back and select Mia so she has access to this. And then this is our kind of list of accommodations that are available for you to set up. I've already gone through and set these all up, so I'm not going to take too long. But these are things that you can turn off and on as required based on the student's individualized learning plans and things like that. So now that the student is here, the content is in, I'm just going to launch this test. Now I'm going to quickly show you what it looks like from Mia's end so that you can see. Okay, right when I log in, it's the first thing I see, the site quiz that Brian Ash has just created. So I just have to click on it. Directions tell me read the quiz and answer the questions. So I'm going to click start. So this is the test. And just like before, if I, jump here, I can start playing this immediately. Now I actually forgot to share my screen with sound. So I'm just going to continue, but any AI voice that the student has selected will be used. They can use voices that they have natively on their device. You can purchase premium voices from us. You can purchase premium voices from someone else. We let you use anything you have. So if I did want to try to sneak around and find out what the answer for this is, and I click escape, the system is going to force me back into the quiz. So this does allow you to provide those testing accommodations that you need in a secure browsing environment. So you don't have to worry about lockdown browsers, things like that, where all of the accommodation platforms don't work. It exists natively in Capti. This is really straightforward and easy. Once they submit, it is super easy to see. Oh. There we go. It is super easy to get the export out of this, send it to their professors, let them see the answers to the questions, all that fun stuff. I could spend hours and hours and hours showing you everything in Capti, but that is not the point of today. So I will end it here. And I think we have a few Capti and AccessText users who are actually going to share a little bit about their experiences with Capti. So thank you, everyone.
Hi, I'm Venus Letty from Junior College. We've been using Capti since 2019. We were Kurzweil users previous to Capti. We've had a great experience, very responsive customer service, very easy for students to use. I love the feature that I can upload a book one time and share it with multiple students. That makes my job a lot easier. As far as AccessText goes, I've been in my job for 4.5 years. I've been using it that entire time. I have seen an increase in the amount of publishers that they're working with, and that has been a great benefit. Most texts that I download are available immediately. I occasionally have to wait a day or two for some larger files to transfer. And it's very rare if they work with a publisher that a file is not available. Another thing I want to say about AccessText is their publisher lookup service. They coordinate with the American Association of Publishers. If there is a publisher that isn't working with AccessText, I can go to that list and find out how to contact that publisher. It makes searching for contacts at publishing companies much easier. Thank you.
Yes, hello. So yeah, we've been using Capti Voice for since September, August, about that time. We have a small pool of students using it, and for the most part, none of the students have complained or reached out to me and said that it's not working for them. So the usual procedure is to believe that it's doing something right. And we do surveys at the end of each quarter, so they seem to be reacting positively to that as well. So that's always good to hear. And AccessText Network is something that we also use in addition to a couple other services, which helps us find the books that we need. And we can use Capti Voice to verify the accessibility before we send that off to the student. We don't quite use it for testing purposes yet, but I do know that that is an option that that might become available down the road. That is something that we might pursue. But for the most part, we really like the text-to-speech aspect of it, and a lot of the other grad students have expressed like happiness with the fact that they can use it to highlight, add comments, annotate what they're reading, and just keep better notes on the PDFs that they're coming across, especially because they have a larger workload of journal articles and whatnot.
Thank you, Venus. Thank you, Sebastian. I'm going to share my screen again. And yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the graduate students. I was once myself. It's one of the reasons I created Capti, is because I felt like I needed to read more and give my eyes some rest. So we received many kind words from students. I want to share with you just a few quotes. Without Capti, I would not be able to complete my reading assignments on time. Because of Capti, I've been able to get my reading assignments done on time for the first time in my entire life. Capti allowed me to stay in college and continue to pursue my degree. That's the kind of value that we'd like to offer to students. We didn't invite any students, but one of the students did record a video for us. So I'm just going to play this 1-minute video. It's always better to hear from a person than to read.
Hi, my name is Mike, and this is a quick video about why I like Capti Voice. So I have struggled with dyslexia my entire life. In elementary and high school, I was provided books on tape, which worked and I had some success with. Once I went into college, it was harder to find books on tape at an academic level. So using grit and having time to read through material 2 or 3 times at a slower pace than a lot of other people, I was able to make it through. Now at 39 years old, I have a full-time job. I have a child, a wife, a house, and having that time to use that determination just wasn't possible. I reached out to the university and they pointed me in the direction of Capti Voice. I'm not very good with technology either, and I was able to download the program and figure out how to download the books very easy. It was user-friendly to somebody that's not very good with technology, and I've been able to cut my reading time in half and also retain it better. It's been a game changer dealing with going back to school at almost 40 years old in the middle of a pandemic, trying to work on homeschool, working on the old house, just all those grown-up things. Capti made it possible. So thank you very much for whoever created this. It's been a lifesaver. Thank you. Hi, my name is Mike.
Oops. Go next. All right. So if you need something to provide testing accommodations this spring, if you want to test out how Capti works with your students, give it to them, have them tell you if they want to use it next school year. And our special offer for you today is a free trial and free training till the end of the school year. Sadly, as much as we try, there's no one tool that can do everything. So many schools get Capti in addition to assistive tech they're using, but economical is the keyword. Budget is unfortunately everybody's mind these days. So if you think you're overpaying for Read and Write or Kurzweil or a similar tool, you probably are. Capti is the most economical of them all, and you can start with as few as 10 students. Don't have to go site-wise. So a lot of schools are switching to Capti because it is more powerful, more affordable. And with that, I think we're going to go in the Q&A and ask some of the questions live.
Gene, we've had a few people ask about the extension, which I didn't have a chance to show. Can I share my screen again? And I'll give it
Yes, sir. I think it's easier to show.
Yeah. So Capti, as long as you have access to Google Chrome, we have a Chrome extension. And I do want to mention that this Chrome extension is free. If you guys end up not using Capti, that's okay. But if you do think you have specific students who could use this and it will help them, I'd be very, very happy if they get access to it, even if we don't get any money from it. So if you highlight any text all over the webpage, this is just a Wikipedia article, for example. If I click play, it will read to me.
Theseus Eucus was the mythical king and founder hero of Athens. The myths.
So just like in the Capti platform, I have different, I can change the way the text looks. I can kind of, manipulate it. I can do all of these things. So it makes it really nice. Now, this is the thing that a lot of people were asking about in the chat. Will Capti work with this or will Capti work with that? This browser extension works with almost anything. So if you are accessing some sort of portal, some sort of platform, whatever, as long as you can highlight the text and that platform hasn't locked down third-party services, you will be able to turn on Capti and use it. I know we have a lot of users who use this in some situations where going to captivoice.com and using the native platform doesn't necessarily work the best way. So this is really popular not only in higher ed, but it's extremely popular in K-12, and it's extremely popular as a consumer product. People all over the world who are trying to learn different languages pick up Capti and use this for translations and things like that. So just wanted to show this really quick, how easy it is. You can just Google Capti Chrome extension. You can pick this up. It is super simple.
Thanks, Brian. I think one of the questions was how is it different from Read and Write? Do you want to take this?
As the director of support and training at one of the two places, I am very biased, but Capti is better. Read and Write is primarily an extension. We also have an extension, but we also have this huge platform. I am unaware if Read and Write has a big platform with testing accommodation, secure browser, things like that. So I think the real difference is one, we're significantly cheaper, and two, we probably have a lot more features. Now take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I am someone who works at one of the two companies. So I'll read some out, Gene.
Yes, please do.
So when sharing files with multiple students, can the students see the other students have access to the file? No. So you can have a lot of the way that schools will do it is they'll create playlists for courses. So Psychology 101, English 101, World Civ, and then they can upload, as Vina said, they'll upload all of their documents for that class. And then they will add and remove students as needed, right? So as the semester comes around, they can add all the students that need access to those courses. Once they have finished with that course, instead of redoing all of the work, all they need to do is delete those students out of the playlist, upload the new batch of students from the next day. The only person who can see anything is the person who owns the playlist, so one of your faculty members. And they will be able to see, notes and highlights and that type of stuff.
Brian, does Capti read math equations?
Capti reads word equations. Capti does not read something like the quadratic formula, and that's okay because nobody does. Kurzweil doesn't do it. Read and Write doesn't do it. Anyone who tells you that their text-to-speech easily reads math is lying to your face. Math is a very difficult thing for AIs to deal with, so there are some ways to get around it. You can translate math into what's called math XML. It's a language that can be read by AI. But that is a little bit of work. So the most honest answer is, unfortunately, it is difficult. And
one of the solutions upcoming this year will be the creating a voiceover. So if you have a document with a math formula, you can have a reader just narrate the entire document and they would just read and highlight, but with a human voice. So, and that would be one of the ways to handle the math if somebody else reads it. I have a question for Dawn. I know you already answered this in writing, but do you have any tips and tricks to convince faculty using publishers represented by ATN?
Simply that education to help faculty understand that the school is legally obligated to provide reasonable accommodations to students, and that they can assist in that. And don't they want to assist in that? And so when they're considering adopting a book from a publisher, one of the many questions that they should be asking is, how available is this book? Is it accessible? What formats do you have? Are there any barriers for students with disabilities to accessing this book? So yeah, that's my tip. Thank you.
Brian, can you talk more about how uploaded documents, tests, and quizzes are removed from Capti once the student has taken the test?
So the way that the playlist system works, so the first thing I showed you, those are functionally permanent, right? If you upload a document to Capti, it's going to exist there forever. So the assignments feature, the thing I showed after, that is temporary. So if you only want a student to have access to a document for a certain amount of time, let's say it's a test or something, time sensitive like that, you just need to use the assignments feature, and that will solve that problem for you. So you kind of have either option that you want to do.
Yep, and to add to what Brian said, if a student uploads, if you give a student a document, they upload it themselves, and it's theirs. But if you're the one uploading and sharing it with students, if you delete the document, student loses access as well. Question for Dawn. I was wondering if the request for a Pearson Canada title is available through ATN.
So Pearson Canada has not joined ATN yet. I have invited them. Pearson US, it's a little tricky. Sometimes they do pass along a Canadian file for me to store for them on ATN, but sometimes they don't, and I do see them frequently denying requests that are for Pearson Canada titles. So, mixed answer. Go ahead and search for the ISBN, but if you're having to place a request that goes into a pending status, go ahead and hedge your bets and place the request with Pearson Canada directly.
Brian, how accurate is the text-to-speech?
I can tell you that it's very accurate, or I can show you a quick example. What would you prefer, Gene?
Well, I guess we can just talk about it, because it really depends on the text that you give it. If you have good text, it reads it well. It's one of the better text-to-speech voices that we use. We use Ivona, now Amazon Voices. So it's a premium, but it's still text-to-speech. That's why we will introduce the human voiceover, so that if you're not happy with how, let's say, the exam is being read, you cannot trust text-to-speech, you can record it over with a human voice. There's a lot of questions on the differences of between Capti and Kurzweil. I mean, it's a long comparison. One explanation I heard is it's like Kurzweil on steroids. It's just more usable and more capability. I mean, there's some things that Kurzweil does better. There are many things that Capti does better. You can use it in parallel. I mean, I've heard some colleges using both, and they just let students decide which one to use. The one thing for sure is a huge difference in price.
Gene, we have a few people asking about Canvas. I'll share my screen and I can show really quick what the Canvas and Capti integration looks like. So Capti is great with Canvas because it's going to allow you to use Capti natively within Canvas. You never even need to leave Canvas. So this is your Canvas dashboard. I'm a student. I click on one of my courses and I go to assignments, or I go to discussions. I can actually highlight anything, the thing will read it, but if you integrate fully with Capti, you can click on this Capti voice button. And then your student is going to have access to all of the assignments and playlists that you have in Capti. If you're a professor and you're using this, you can create those assignments, you can create those playlists, you can upload everything just in this iframe right here. So nobody needs to even leave their Canvas platforms. Everything can be done in here. The few users who do use Canvas fully, they love this integration. They use it all the time. I don't think any of them actually go to captivoice.com, which is totally fine.
Yeah, and if you're in Capti, you can, Canvas and Blackboard both appear as sources. So if a professor shared some reading with the students via Canvas, via Blackboard, students can easily import it from Canvas and from Blackboard. Also, there's a single sign-on integration. So if students go into Canvas, they can open Capti without having to have a separate account for Capti. And we don't yet support D2L, unfortunately, but we're looking into adding more integrations. You can use the browser extension to read the web page of the D2L. How does Capti work with screen readers? So Capti is not a screen reader, but it is fully accessible with a screen reader. And what it helps do is help students be more productive, because the screen reader just reads the screen and you need to constantly interact with it, make it, go here, go there. With Capti, students can load what they need to read and they can listen to it, and it helps them organize their materials, and they can be more productive and more effective if they use Capti and the screen reader together. But Capti does not replace your NWA or JAWS. Let's see if there are any more questions. Maybe we can go to some older questions that the attendees would want to hear the answer to. I have a lot of complaints about Kurzweil's robotic voices. How are Capti voices? Well, we use a higher quality text-to-speech and charge less money for it.
Accuracy of our speech to text, it's very, very accurate.
We use Google speech to text.
Yeah.
So
prices for Capti, you can go to captivoice.com. Otherwise, we will send out some basic pricing with this webinar recording. But the most basic account is 10 licenses for $300. So that tells you everything you need to know how much cheaper it is.
Yes, I think 100 students is $1,500. So it just drops dramatically the more students you have.
Yes, it's an
And
annual subscription with unlimited support, unlimited training. I'm basically your assistant all the time. So if you think I'm cute, you could buy us, and then I'll be on Zoom all the time for you. Yes,
but again, I want to remind that you can get Capti for free from now until the end of the school year, so that you can use it for testing accommodations and count that as your free trial. But don't complain when your students demand that you provide Capti for them next year. Please reach out to Erica at Capti Voice.
We just got a question in the Q&A. Is there an offline mode without internet connectivity? So there is an iOS application. So if any students have an iPhone, they can download that. We do not have an Android application, and that is the only application that works offline. So you do need to use Capti online. We used to have an offline platform. Due to a variety of reasons, we had to discontinue it in the pandemic, which I think everybody understands. And yes, students are more than welcome to try the free trial. Students, again, if you decide that Capti isn't for you, but you think there's 1 or 2 students that you really think Capti would be great for, you can sign up for a free personal account. You can encourage your students to sign up for free personal accounts. I know that's an anathema of sales, but please use Capti. We help a lot of students. It's one of my favorite things when I see people who get helped.
Yeah, just a little caveat that there's a free Capti account, but it's missing high quality text-to-speech and many of the premium features. So actually, once you get the students get those features, it would be more expensive for them than if you purchase it for them. And of course, and you wouldn't have the testing accommodations and all the other bells and whistles.
But if you are interested, training is included in the free trial. So I can, walk you through. Yeah, we can do a quick demo of a premium voice. Let me share my screen again.
And then while you're doing that, there's a few more other questions. Do students sign into their paid license with college SSO, like Google or Microsoft accounts? I don't believe we support Microsoft SSO, although we're looking at that as well. So we will add that sooner than later. But yes, students can log in from Canvas. They can log in from Blackboard by just clicking the Capti button if you enable LTI integration. But typically students use Google single sign-on. There's also Facebook single sign-on, Apple single sign-on. So we support all of those. So, and yes, basically students have their account and you're providing them with all of the premium features. So if they're a member of the college university with premium subscriptions, students get all of the capabilities for free.
All right, so this is one of the voices. I'll play it for a little bit. We'll switch to a different voice.
Wilhelm Wundt is credited as one of the founders of psychology. He created the first laboratory for...
So if that's too fast, you can always slow it down.
For psychological research. This photo shows him seated and surrounded by fellow researchers and equipment in his laboratory in Germany.
Now, if I, for whatever reason, don't like this voice, every user is different. I really encourage students who use this to come in and check which voice works for them. Capti is also really nice that it does allow you to use any sort of device voices you have. So if you have like a MacBook Pro or like a Windows laptop, they are going to provide a lot of text-to-speech voices for you as well. So that helps with translation stuff. But let's switch over to Brian instead of Emma. I'm going to go back. Don't want to click that.
James and Functionalism. William James, 1842 to 1910, was the first American psychologist who espoused a different perspective on how psychology should operate. Figure.
So Capti has a huge amount of different voices. You can get English voices in an Indian accent. You can get it in a British accent, Australian, Canadian, American. Like I said, we don't limit you. So if you do have a different voice available on your device, you can do it. I see a thing coming up. Can you change the pitch of the voices? No, there's no changing the voices. So Capti doesn't actually own or create any of these voices. We're basically hosting them from the same people who make the voices on your Google Home Mini or your Alexa. Those companies make the speech, like the text voices. We just basically hire them out. So we don't have a lot of control over pitch, tone, things like that, inflection. We are just renting them functionally.
Do students make their own login if the office purchases, or do office members create student accounts?
So it's really easy to create member accounts if students have used Capti before. So anyone who creates Capti account, there's millions of Capti accounts in the world, they create individual accounts. They can either be added into your membership account to get all of the features, unlimited OCR, all of those things. Or if they've never used Capti before, you can just create them as a member using their, usually their college email address is what people use. It takes 10 seconds at most.
Yeah, I think we have multiple rostering options.
Yes.
You can discuss them with Brian. Does Capti offer resources to help train staff students on navigating the online platform?
Yes, that's me. I teach you the whole way. I'm always available on Zoom. We have manuals, we have tutorials. They're on YouTube. We have quick guides. So if you just need to do a quick little thing, I might send you a PDF with step-by-step instructions. But we're very, very available. One of the things Capti is super proud about, I'm especially proud about, is how good our support is. It annoys my wife endlessly, but if people are emailing me on a Saturday, I will respond to them. I always make sure everybody's taken care of. So yes, you have kind of an unlimited amount of training and resources.
Would adding Capti to Canvas be a part of the free trial?
It can be. I don't see why not. We might need to work with your tech staff to have a meeting if they are particular about things like data, which is pretty common for us to have.
Yes, the LMS administrator will have to enable something to integrate with us. So please reach out to Brian to discuss that. Please reach out to Erica at erica@captivoice.com to request a free trial. And then she will refer you to Brian for implementation. And That doesn't take much time at all. Usually we create an account for you within 24 hours or faster, depending on which part of the day you ask for it. And Brian will set up the training and show you how easy it is to add your students to Capti. All right, it looks like there are no more questions. We'd like to thank everybody for attending this webinar. We will send you the recording. And if you have any questions later on, please feel free to reach out. Thank you all. Have a
again,
wonderful day.
everybody.